Hello everybody, as promised it is Friday, July 4th, it is late in the evening, Hurricane Arthur has calmed down a bit, and since Fridays are prominent in the Islamic religion, they're the days of congregational prayer, like Mass in the Christian religion. It's called the WHOI. Excuse my pronunciation. These are the days I think I will be talking about things relating to Islam and or Ramadan. Mind you, today's topic might be tangential to that entirely. So, Ramadan is a time of cleansing and renewal in the Islamic faith. During the day they fast, but many Muslims also quit smoking, drinking, or doing anything that could be perceived as sinful. This varies from culture to culture and, I imagine, from person to person, but there's this general idea during Ramadan that you are supposed to be the best, most faithful, good person that you can be. And herein lies my tangent. Generally, outside of the vlogging thing, I haven't changed my behavior much for Ramadan, but I've been thinking more about, Ramadan and about vlogging, and it's made me more observant about certain things. And the thing that's been coming up a lot in my life over the last week or so is the concept of honesty. Generally, I'm an honest person. I find it to be a lot of hard work to lie, and I have not got the time for that. And so I try to avoid it outside of sparing people's feelings. But I've been trying to think about just how many types of honesty there are. Brutal honesty, for example. Very prolific on the internet, generally not responded to super well, but that's because it usually comes in a negative or critical context. But there are 100 ways you can break down these sorts of things. I'm gonna categorize it more in a contextual sense, so it's forms of honesty based on relationship or place. And I think first and foremost is personal honesty. Fundamentally, you need to be honest with yourself, how you feel, and who you are. It's just too much energy to lie to yourself or try to be someone you're not. It just isn't worth it. For me, this comes up a lot in the way that I wear my nerddoms on my sleeve, or more often my chest. And for me, if that means being the weird guy in the office with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle calendar, so be it. Turtle power. Mikey is the best. Next, I think, is active honesty. And I couldn't come up with a good name for this, but essentially, honesty when you're interacting with strangers or others. Honesty in your actions. So recently I was buying comics, nerd, and when the cashier rang me up, it was a lot less than it should have been. Like $10 less. And I was like, I don't think that's right. And she was like, really? Let me check. And yeah, she had rung up an $11.99 book for $1.99, and she thanked me for my honesty. And I guess it took me back a little bit, because it took me a minute to realize that a lot of people would have just walked away with that. They would have taken advantage of the situation. Like, don't get me wrong, if I go through a drive-thru and I end up with an extra thing of fries, that is just bonus of life. But I brought these books to the counter knowing what they cost and being okay with buying them. I don't want to steal them, but I guess some people might. And then there is relationship honesty. Being honest with the people closest to you. Your friends, your family, etc. I don't know who falls outside of that list, but either way. Generally it's a bit tougher, this type of honesty, because there's a certain image of yourself that you want to portray to the people closest to you. But at the same time it's a lot easier because you trust that they like you no matter what. So it's kind of a balancing act. I think if you added it up, the people closest to you would probably be the people you lie to more often than anyone. I mean, they're probably also the people you tell your most honest truths to, so again, it probably balances out at the end. But it's just an interesting bit of oxymoron. And then this expands naturally into romantic honesty. Honesty in romantic relationships, which I am not going to talk about, because I am by far not an expert in that realm. So we move into professional honesty. And it is important to have open communication in the workplace for a number of reasons. If projects have problems, or even if they're going very well, it's important to be upfront about it so that things can continue going smoothly, that any problems can be fixed, or, things can be added. If people are being mistreated by others, either through bullying or harassment or being overloaded by a boss, these are things that need to be brought to someone's attention and stopped. It is easy for me to let myself get overloaded and overstressed, so for me, it's just important that I'm honest about my workload and to be sure that people know, how much is too much. It is better to be clear about when you are hitting your limit rather than strain under the load or potentially collapse under it. Been there, done that, no thanks. Not fun. And then there's academic honesty, which those of us in academia or the sciences have to face. This means things like using proper methods to perform your experiments or your analyses, to not plagiarize, to cite properly when you take something from someone else, to not fabricate or manipulate data just to get a result, especially a result that you want rather than a result that is. And communicating the errors and faults in your science so they aren't repeated by others. For scientists, honesty is a responsibility to the public and to our peers, to report as accurately as possible our data and the methods with which we gathered it, so that people can be confident in the claims that we make. Does every scientist do this? Well, I'd like to think so, and usually students are trained in scientific ethics to help maintain that. But as a realist, I know that no system is perfect. Anyway, it's just something to think about. I find honesty a lot easier than lying, and that oftentimes the things you hold back are the things that hold you back. See you next time. I think Hurricane Arthur has finally calmed down a bit. Swallow after I say that. I get why people don't do long sentences, because they're hard to remember and they're not a breath. But that's usually because it's usually. For me, this comes up a lot in the way I got an itchy nose. Moving forward when I talk. Emphasis. Fluff.